Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Jens Pateo, and I'm gonna do something different again. I'm gonna review a song again. I've did two songs in the past, two kind of metal songs, because I'm a heavy metal fan, but I'm also a 60s fan. So this song will be Nights in White Satin by the Moody Blues, a very famous song. And why I chose this song is because it is one of the quintessential songs of the 60s. In my opinion, this is one of the songs that captures that feel and that sound of the 60s so well. And it's actually a really good song by a really good band that, is world famous, but they were not, the Moody Blues, they were not like at the level of Led Zeppelin, but they made some amazing songs. They were a little bit overlooked, maybe, if I can say. So I'm going to first preface this, but with some background about the song, some technical information about the song, and then also discussing the general feel of it. So this song, I think most of the people watching would probably know it. It's actually, a kind of sad, melancholy love song. It was created by the singer Justin Hayward as a kind of, sad song where he was like in between relationships, letting go of one relationship and the beginning of another relationship and his feelings around it. And it was inspired by his gift from his ex, from his former girlfriend that gave him white satin sheets. And so he was singing about nights in white satin. And typical of the Moody Blues is this song has a melancholic tone to it, as a lot of Moody Blues songs have. They're a band actually from Birmingham, just like a lot of great bands like Black Sabbath is from Birmingham, Judas Priest is from Birmingham. Now the Moody Blues is not a hard rock band or a heavy metal band, but they still have that kind of darker sound, that melancholy sound I was talking about. So because Birmingham was kind of a dark city. That's why it was working class. It was very industrial. So they sang about dark subjects. This is where heavy metal was born. So they also have that that more melancholy influence. And so a lot of their songs are in the minor scale. So that's one of the things about this song is it's in E minor. So E minor. So the E minor is basically the most standard chord on guitar. If you play the E minor chord, it's the most standard chord on guitar. For example, the intro of Metallica, Nothing Else Matters. And I'm going to take my guitar to illustrate. I hope you guys can hear it. I'm going to turn the camera down a bit so So this is basically the E minor. The E minor. It's one of the simplest. You see, it's just two fingers I push in. One of the simplest chords you can play on guitar. And actually, a lot of songs start with this because it's a really guitar-driven song. It's E minor is the tuning of the guitar. Like, for example, I'm going to play something like Nothing Else Matters from Metallica. It's exactly the same chord. But it's just a few higher notes. So it's really the tuning of the guitar. And it's in a minor scale. And it switches alternately between minor, which has kind of that sad feel. That's where the melancholy, the sadness, the melancholy in the song comes from, and chords that are also major. So the beginning of the song switches from E minor to D major, which is more happy, which creates that kind of contrast. As the songs in the minors in that minor progression, you got like songs that sound more happy and more sad, like underneath the vocals. A beautiful vocal line by the singer, by the way. Very drawn out. So I will discuss it more when the song starts. And then it switches, it goes from E minor to D major, E minor again, D major, and then E minor, and then C major. It creates a kind of change. It's I'm going to talk more about it as I let the song play. Also, the bassist of Moody Blues died recently. Also, amazing bass playing on that. And one of the last things I want to mention before I start playing the song is that this song was actually written while he was touring in Belgium. I didn't know that. It's kind of funny. So that's the country where I'm from. So that's kind of interesting. And funny enough, the other people in the band didn't think much of the song initially. They were like, okay. But then, when they played it more, they saw it had potential. Last thing I want to say before I start is when I was listening to the song, I was kind of counting the song, to see what the meter is, to see what the tempo is. And, most rock songs are in 4/4. This song, I thought it was 3/4. Because it sounds like a bit like it was like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And it's like 3/4, but it's not 3/4, it's 6/8, which is basically also waltzy, but it's a little bit different. So with 3/4, you got three quarter notes per beat, but here you got 6/8, so you got 6/8 notes per beat, which is kind of the same but not the same. So 3/4 is 1 2 3 1 2 3, and 6/8 is 1 2 3 4 5 6. So, but it's like 1 2 1 2 1 2. So, the bars, it's 8 notes in the bar. So it's got a little bit of a different feel. Sometimes it's difficult to hear the difference between 3/4 and 6/8. So that's why I thought it was in 3/4. But actually, a new bar in the song, a new chord starts after 6/8 notes. So that's why it's in 6/8. Maybe a little bit technical, but quite interesting. That's also what gives this song a different feel. So let's, without further ado, let's play the song. Let's listen to the beginning.
Nights in white satin, never reaching the end. Letters I've written, never meaning to send. Beauty I'd always missed with these eyes before. Just what the truth is, I can.
So before the chorus starts, I'm gonna pause it for a second. So it's just beautiful, the way it flows, that waltzy feel that I said in 6/8, and that mellotron in the background, a typical instrument of the 60s. So a mellotron is basically like an old-fashioned synthesizer with tapes. So the tapes play a certain sound when they press the keys. It's like a synthesizer, but in the background, instead of electronic sounds, it's a tape running. So you have that kind of like tapey feel, like it sometimes goes out of tune a little bit, which gives it that really, that's what they used in the 60s, that really 60s sound, that mellotron. Like the nights in white satin. So that mellotron really makes the song, that mellotron in the background. It's really a big part of the song. Also, it's basically also symphonic rock, because the London Festival Orchestra did a lot of instruments on this song. So it's also got a symphonic arrangement to it, especially as it goes to the end. The orchestra really comes in. And so it's, as you can hear, it's like very sentimental, very melancholic, and I kind of like it. It's not your typical song, because it's like it's got that waltzy feel, and its vocals are very drawn out, especially as we go to the chorus. You will hear that it's not a fast delivery. It's very, very slow, like nights in white satin. And the chorus sings, and I love you. So it's very drawn out, which I really like, which just adds to the atmosphere and the whole the tone of the song, basically. So let's listen to the chorus.
'Cause I love you. Yes, I love you. Gazing at people, some hand in hand, just what I'm going through, they can understand. Some try to tell me thoughts they cannot defend. Just what you want to be, you will be in the end.
So again, these especially also the vocals, very poetic, very beautiful vocals. And he wrote this when he was 19. I mean, is that amazing? As such a young guy writing a song like this. It's about writing a timeless song that speaks to all ages, that also speaks to people who are in their 70s, who are in their 80s. It's just amazing. And this is something that a lot of bands in the 60s had, all these young bands, because Led Zeppelin, Jefferson Airplane, the Moody Blues, and so much more bands, they were all very young when they wrote this very adult music, actually, which is just a testament to their talent and just the inspiration they channeled, the music they channeled. The 60s were a time that a lot of innovation in music was happening. A lot of rock innovation, rock and roll became a thing. they, a lot of the bands also took drugs, which probably opened their creative pathways in some way. Some of it was not good, but um, you know, like Bill Hicks said, a lot of these musicians, they made a lot of good music high on drugs. That's just the way it was. But yeah, it's just that vibe of the '60s. This song breeds that vibe of the '60s. It's just such a quintessential '60s song, and that beautiful mellotron in the background, the orchestral arrangement, the haunting vocals. It's just amazing. Let's move into the second chorus here.
Yes, I love
So I'm going to stop it here for a moment. So beautiful flute solo. I think this is counts as one of the best flute solos in a song, from that era or ever. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. And we don't have a lot of music anymore that employs flutes in the music, right? Unless some very specialized bands. This is up there with like another flute solo from a song I can think of. A really good flute solo is from a California Dreaming. Also has an amazing flute solo. I think is one of the best, if not the best flute solo ever. But this one is right up there. And I just love how, see how the music stopped for a moment, and then the flute solo started. So it has that dynamic. So it creates more dynamic in the song, which is absolutely beautiful. And now you feel it building up. So it builds up like in a kind of crescendo. The flute solo builds up to another part.
in white satin, never reaching the end. Letters I've written, never meaning to send. Beauty I've always missed with these eyes before.
So again, about the bass, John Lodge that recently died. If you can hear the bass actually quite well in this song, as most of the '60s songs, you can hear the bass quite well, and the bass playing is absolutely incredible. Very, very tasteful. It fits this. It really supports the song completely. Like the bass is something that is often overlooked in songs. Well, it is very important actually. Because if the rhythm section, the bass and the guitar the bass and the drum, rhythm section is the bass and the drum, is really good, people will really dig the song. And a lot of people don't notice the bass in songs, but the bass is actually the most important thing in a song that is subconsciously received, actually. Unless you're like a musician, most people are not going to notice the bass that much. Well, it's actually subconsciously you're really, really noticing, and it really makes this song. So also really great job by the bassist here. Okay, so on that video file here that I used was from YouTube. They do the clapping, but it actually, it ends in such a good climax, with the orchestra that comes in full force, the melody in the background, the haunting vocals. Like this is a song. This is a totally unique song, and it's a song like no other, and that's why it's become, so popular. Although it was not like a total hit at first, but it became a hit like multiple times. It went back into the charts actually in the 70s and even in the 80s once, I think, in different countries, because it's such a timeless classic. And there's something about this music. I'm not from the 60s, but I actually grew up with this music because me and my friends, we loved it so much. We listened to it, in the evenings, just putting it on. It was part of my teens and especially my 20s, when we just, had a drink with friends and that music would be on. It's just such amazing music. It's especially if you play it on a good sound system, full blast. It's just, it's a visceral experience. And that's the thing about the 60s. There's a lot of bands have tried to emulate that sound, but nobody can come close anymore. And it's not only, the instruments they used, the recording methods they used from the time. There were no click tracks then, you had to nail it. Nowadays they can, and with the computer, with click tracks, they can cut and paste and they can, fix your mistakes. There you really had to nail it. And that gives it a rawness to the music that you don't find, a rawness and a realness that you don't find often anymore in modern music, because everything is so polished. And that's the appeal of the music. You just can't, if you try to make it sound like the Moody, you just can't anymore. It's not possible to make it try sound like the 60s. It's not possible anymore. It's got the energy of the 60s. It's, for some reason, these songs from the 60s really have that energy like into them. When you listen to them, you're like transported back to that time. They got an energy about them. A lot of these songs from the 60s, it was a magical time for music. So anyway, I'm a heavy metal lover, but I'm also a huge 60s music lover. There's so many great songs about the 60s. Maybe for the next one, I will do another song about the 60s, maybe not. Moody Blues, like Melancholy Man, it's also an amazing song. It's not as famous as like, Nights in White Satin, but amazing delivery in that song. Just maybe I should try that one for a future song. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in another video. Thank you. Bye-bye.